Good evening. Assalamu alaikum. Bonjour tout le monde. Welcome to this important and timely session. We're pleased to have you joining us here today in this session titled Shaping Africa's Future, Driving Growth, Fintech, Innovation as Game Changers. We're gathered here today at this session not just to observe trends, but to engage in a purposeful dialogue on how fintech and digital innovation are transforming the African continent. Africa is undergoing a remarkable digital transition, and at the heart of this transformation lies a powerful catalyst, which is fintech, a tool that is enabling millions, especially those previously excluded from the formal financial system, to access and benefit from modern financial tools and services. However, this transformation also brings challenges and important questions around governance, infrastructure, education, and regulation. How do we ensure the right balance between innovation and oversight? And how can public-private cooperation and collaboration create more inclusive and sustainable growth? Today, I was charged with this beautiful responsibility, which is to be your moderator for this session. My name is Mariam Qassou. I work as a tech entrepreneur. I specialize in data transformation. And I am today privileged to be joined by an exceptional group of panelists. With us today, Madame Ife Okeke. She is the founder and CEO of Lexon Capital, an advisory firm based in Nigeria with over 25 years of experience across law, investment banking, and private equity and real estate. Ife brings a sharp strategic lens to the financial development of the continent. She sits on multiple corporate boards across sectors, including telecom, healthcare, pensions, and currently she chairs key governance and strategy committees at Legend Internet PLC and Veritas Glanville Pension Fund. Also with us today, Madame Inès Léonard-Duzy. She is the president and founder of Digital for the Planet, a leading voice in digital sustainability and inclusion. She's an international speaker, an author, a professor at Sciences Po. Her NGO has brought digital education to over 300,000 Europeans, particularly targeting underprivileged communities. Inès also, she is widely recognized for her policy influence across France and Europe, and has delivered global talks with high caliber institutions such as the UN and Stanford. With us today also, Mr. Mustafa Zawini. He is the chairman of AI in Africa, and he's a seasoned tech entrepreneur with 2 decades of experience in mobile money and telecom and fintech through ventures like Fliptin. He focuses on frontier markets and youth empowerment. His leadership creating inclusive AI ecosystems makes him a key player and a key voice in shaping Africa's innovation future. With us also, my good friend, Mr. Scott Goodstein. He is the founder and CEO of Catalyst Campaigns. He is a global strategic communication firm. He is widely known for his groundbreaking work in political digital strategy, having led digital efforts for Barack Obama's campaign, the 2008 campaign, and Bernie Sanders' campaign also. His global reach spans multiple continents, and his expertise in messaging and public engagement has helped him reshape how modern campaigns and causes connect with diverse audiences. Also, Mr. Ismail Belkhiyat. He is the founder and CEO of Shari, a driving force behind Morocco's tech entrepreneurship boom. After working at BCG, he launched several successful ventures, including Serouti.ma, a leading real estate platform, and Chauffeur.ma, later acquired by Avis. With a track record of scaling businesses and creating jobs, Ismail exemplifies the entrepreneurial spirit powering Africa and Morocco's digital economy. With us also, to my left, Dr. Khalid Ismail. He is the founder and chairman of Kiango, an angel investment fund focused on early-stage Egyptian startups, a prolific innovator, academic, and investor. He previously founded Sysoft, right, which was acquired by Intel and served as managing director at Intel Mobile Communications with over 160 published papers. That's a huge number. So he has a deep experience in tech policy. Khalid is a cornerstone in Egypt's innovation ecosystem. Last but not least, we have Mr. André Agid. He is the president of Global Africa and founder of Gaia, a digital platform design agency with over 20 years experience advising institutions on digital strategy. André has digital transformation initiatives. He led digital transformation initiatives across media, education, and public sectors. He's also a former managing director of the Pan-African TV channel Télé Sud, and remains committed to advancing Africa's voice in the digital space. So this is regarding our exceptional group of panelists. So to set the stage, let me start with you, Madame Ifi. In your extensive experience with investments and governance, how can African governments and financial regulators create a supportive ecosystem that balances innovation with consumer protection to ensure fintech's long-term success?
Thank you very much for having me here. As we've seen over the last 5 years or 6 years, we've seen tremendous investment in technology, especially in fintech across Africa. And one of the advantages of having fintech is that not only does it allow for market penetration in individual countries, but it also allows for cross-border payments and transactions. AFTA, one of the main vision or missions of AFTA is to ensure that countries can transact business easily. So not only just the movement of persons, but also movement of services, and services includes, transactions all across different sectors. Africa has faced challenges of having multiple currencies, multiple financial policies, and fintech is seen as a tool to actually bring countries together. Unfortunately, fintech has met with some challenges, and one of those is the regulatory policies across countries. And the way countries can help fintech grow over time is to ensure that, one, the regulation is tailored to the products. So the financial regulator needs to understand the products and the services fintech provides. They also have to understand that it's an evolving market, that technology evolves very quickly, and the regulator has to be on board with innovation. Another thing is that the regulator has to ensure that there are clear laws regarding digital assets and crypto assets. And this ensures that not only the fintech companies understand the regulation, but also the consumers understand the regulation. So it's very important that regulatory policies are very transparent and very easy to understand. The other thing I think is very important in this sector is regulators supporting the ecosystem around startups. So the regulators should encourage one-stop shops for fintech companies, ensuring that these one-stop shops provide them with technical expertise, legal understanding, understanding of the regulatory framework, and also able to connect them with venture capital firms and other support systems. The regulator, at the same time, can strengthen financial service systems around fintech companies by also ensuring that they comply with international global regulation, especially when it comes to AML. AML is anti-money laundering policies, ensuring that those policies are in place and that fintech companies obey these policies. This ensures that the market is stable and also consumers are protected as well. So I think as long as regulators work in a collaborative fashion with fintech companies, without actually stifling the innovation around those startups, it's important. I think that the sector has great potential for Africa. It has the potential to link countries together. It has the potential to drive economic growth across countries within the continent. So it's important that the regulators in each country be more collaborative with other countries. I think maybe one of the things that AFTA or the African Union should consider is also having a kind of uniform policy around fintech companies to ensure that there's certainty in terms of regulation and that fintech companies can open offices all across Africa. I know that companies like Flutterwave have offices in Kenya, not just in Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, Ghana, etc. Hopefully other fintech companies can do more of that. Flutterwave has been able to achieve, I think, 30 countries, penetration in 30 countries in Africa, across and operating with 30 different currencies. I think we need to see more of that. And regulators can do more to encourage other companies to follow suit. Thank you.
Thank you. If you've touched on the importance of the systemic support that is needed to the current challenges that unfortunately can or are preventing our continent from thriving. Let's now shift to inclusion, which can be a driving force to overcome these challenges. I'll switch to you, Ines. So today, with digital inclusion being one of the major challenges, how can African countries strategically integrate fintech innovations into their educational and social systems to empower rural and marginalized communities? What role can cross-sector partnerships play in this effort?
Hello, everybody can hear me? Amazing. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you for this question. First of all, I think we must teach women and men why and how to talk about money. It may be a prerogative, it's something, maybe it's better like this. It's a priority. Educate them how they can enrich themselves so they will be confident in how to enrich and finance their country, their region, globally. People, and especially women, need more expertise on finance and in prospective sectors. This is extraordinarily key. Also, we need to learn global finance, how global finance works, but at term, Africa must develop its own vision of capitalism or any other form of growth and future. This is about leadership and sovereignty. We need to build more bridges between young people, wherever their social and educational educational background, is highlighting them, is empowering them. They will empower themselves if they are seen, recognized by their peers, wherever they come from. Diplomas are great, but energy, ambition, perseverance, resilience, you'd be surprised where it can come from. Not necessarily where money and education is. Connecting young people between them in Africa, but also with the rest of the world is also key. We need cooperation, and cooperation is not something natural. You must learn it, you must develop it. Also, we need engagement. Like I said, cooperation from which an educated part of the population to go and see, go and talk, go and lead by example, and maybe go and support by any means. And definitely, the core solution is education. Digital sustainability as well as AI should be taught in school because this is the way Africa can organize itself. Africa is silently supposed to remain the back kitchen of the world, and this is not okay. So the key sectors are digital sustainability globally, how we can develop technologies on a sustainable way, resilience, AI, and also, of course, cybersecurity. We unfortunately don't talk enough about it, but cybersecurity is also key. Rabat is aiming to become a super safe city, for example. But a safe city is a city that protects its economy. And today, economy is digital, and today digital can be very harmful, even deadly. For example, quickly, 6 attacked company on 10 will die within the 6 months. A cyber-attacked, ransomed company who is taking time to get back its data is heavily damaged. Reputation-wise, financially, it costs between 60K and 180K to recover. A new client, by then, went to see the competition for a long time. So to end this part, while you're financing your company, we are here to talk about financing growth, but financing your company, it's also train your people to protect it, to recognize attack patterns, and to know in which world we are living in. And that's why I come back to the beginning. Cooperation, bridges, education.
Thank you, Ines.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for this perspective that brings up the vital intersection between innovation that is mainly led by youth, and we are in a continent that is luckily a young continent, and AI and technology. I'll switch to you, Mustafa, with your work on youth empowerment and frontier technologies. As fintech and AI coverage, how can African leaders ensure that these technologies are harnessed to foster local innovation and create solutions that address the continent's unique need, rather than just duplicating solutions that are made somewhere else and by people who face maybe challenges that are different than ours?
Thank you, Mariam. Thank you. I want to thank also the organizers for the invitation here. I think it's great to have all these different people and interconnecting and trying to discuss, going in the same direction and trying to discuss our future, because that's what we actually, as a society, are trying to do.
Mustafa, can you please?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I was just thanking the organization team for today's event. Ines, actually, I wanted to bounce back before I go on to the discussion on some of the points that you mentioned. So I've been in fintech for quite a long time, and first of all, innovation in fintech, we already leapfrog as a continent. You can see some of the behaviors that now today we have in pain in Europe or whatever. We've been doing that already since 2008, 2009, 2010 in some markets. I've been involved in mobile money for quite a long time, and so the behavior we already have been innovative in how you're using new tech at that time, and it was basic technology. That's an important aspect, and also multilingual technology. The other aspect is that you mentioned an important aspect around education of men and women around money, right? And actually, I did run a survey. We did a qualitative, actually a large survey in Nigeria, and actually women, as we were building a new tech and a new license actually in Nigeria, women actually were the decision maker in the household actually about the money, right? And that was an important fact because then we had to build a solution towards that. In terms actually, in that case, it was to pay for TV and so on, but actually, you know, that was that, and the kids were the one that's much closer. So we had to actually build some technology around that, and that's bringing me to to answer your question, right? Part of the answer is for our leaders is that you need to build an inclusive design into your technologies, right? You need to think about what problem you're solving, whether it's in payment in my case, or else, but basically, is it rural? Is it, you know, a revenue or income? Language is an important aspect because sometimes we forget. I mean, here we have multiple languages in this country, in Morocco, right? But other countries, let's say in South Africa, we had to build solutions with 10 different languages. In Nigeria, different languages, different communities, and so on. So today, you know, localization, hyper-localization is an important aspect on AI and on fintech, and if you're trying to merge the two. So inclusive design, I think it was very important. The other point is scalability and infrastructure. I mean, ultimately, you know, we already have, when you want to bridge the challenges of fintech and AI, you know, first of all, data has a cost. Infrastructure has a cost. We have very little data stored in the continent. I think it's around 1% of the African data is stored on the continent. We talked this morning, there was some session around data centers and so on. So how do you scale? How do you have an infrastructure that has a low cost actually on the continent in order for you to be able to use it? And then the other aspect is interoperability. I mean, interoperability, now we're seeing it happening in some markets, including Morocco, where actually but what we've seen really the impact of interoperability recently was in Tanzania and Kenya, where we see actually real interoperability that we've been waiting for years around mobile money and that. And that means shared infrastructure. That means shared cooperation in order to implement this type of interoperability. The third aspect is probably the most important one in our view, because we've been working with actually kids and girls, actually 15 to 18 years old since 2018 on democratization of AI. At that time, AI was not the buzz as it is today, but the point is that you need to start very early. And the third aspect, really, and maybe sometimes we're too late, right, already, is local talent, right? How do we develop local talent? How do we develop local talent? How do we empower local talent to actually understand the complexity, whether on cybersecurity, whether actually data ownership, data sovereignty, right? It's topics today that are a little bit more advanced, but really, ultimately, when we talk about regulation, we're only exploring, really. I mean, we're still at the beginning within an Africa continent around a common regulation around data sovereignty. Do we go on the east side or on the west side? I mean, you know, what are the challenges that we're doing around that? So that come back to an important aspect, I think. What we've seen in AI now, if we just think that AI is a tool, then we're wrong. Because it's not just a tool. We need to actually be able to change that tool to make it very close to our own local values, right? Our own local dialects. So we work on voice AI. I will talk a little bit more about this type of aspect. Our own local use cases, right? We cannot compete necessarily in building a large open type platform without naming companies in the US or else, and there's too many players. But something is happening now, and recently we ran a bootcamp actually in Morocco here for SMEs. Something happened now that I'm a strong believer of open source AI, and that open source AI will provide democratization of us to access the data locally and be able to transform it and be able therefore to adapt it to local use cases. And therefore, I would suggest there that basically in order for us to adapt AI, it's not a question of adoption, of AI, when we talk about an African continent, but it's actually how to actually be participating in driving it, not just to be able to be using it, not just to be a customer in this case, but actually how do we shape it to make it local and ours.
We will for sure get back to that point, but one of the major elements you mentioned that were very, very interesting is the importance of language. Language is indeed a key element to be taken into consideration as a cultural character of data or any innovation and any innovative initiatives. So language, communication. So Scott, you're the expert here regarding communication, and you advised movements and companies around the world. So from a communication perspective and global advocacy perspective, what strategies should the African fintech companies adopt to position themselves as global leaders in fintech innovation while staying authentic to the local context?
Sure. One, it's an honor to be back at Amadeus Institute with this esteemed group of colleagues, and thanks to King Mohammed VI and all of the staff here at Amadeus for putting this discussion together. I think that Africa is in a unique place in the world where you have the ability to leapfrog all sorts of international technology, but do it the right way, and learn from the mistakes that you've seen happen in the US. Learn from the mistakes that you've seen happen in other places in the world. Cherry pick the best and the brightest from Europe's data privacy laws. In the US, we have almost zero data privacy laws. Learn from where government is too fast and too slow, but keep this to solving your own African origin stories. What problems are needed, and build technology to answer those problems. And so I don't think do things that are needed in the US faster, cheaper, with outsourcing. I think solve the problems and build upon your own story, but take from all the lessons. So learn what went wrong with Coinbase, learn what went wrong with Bitcoin and NFT. Make sure that you're telling a story to educate grandma and grandpa about the good and the bad around mobile. And by the way, Africa's already there. You are the innovators of mobile technology far, far past. So we're already in what, second, third generation funding of mobile technology. Learn what didn't work with MPay and some of the other mobile tech. Learn what is the next. And so to me, that's how you communicate your story. You already have this amazing story that you're faster than everybody else in the world in mobile technology. Build upon that story to solve the next problems and the next solutions.
Thank you, Scott. Let's move from a com perspective and its importance to infrastructure and scale. Ismail, based on your experience building and scaling Shari's app across the continent, what are the key structural and infrastructural changes that need to happen to enable SMEs and small companies to thrive in the fintech ecosystem?
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for your invitation. Myself, I'm running one of the very few fintechs here in Morocco. We've been very fortunate to get granted a financial institution license by the Central Bank of Morocco that is today allowing us to work on financial inclusion. So we help mainly the SMEs, the small grocery stores, the independent retailers, with understanding all the benefits financial inclusion can bring to them. So we try to first train them, educate them, to use a long suite of services from an online payment gateway, if they say online, to a hard POS or a soft POS if they sell digitally in their physically in their stores. We open payment accounts for them, we do their KYC, and then we provide them with debit cards, namely Visa, that is one of our investors. No, of course, all of them have issues regarding financial inclusion. And the main issue that comes to their mind is, will we be taxed by the local authorities if we start using your systems? Our data may be shared, people will look at what we do, and we will probably end up paying taxes. So that's the objection number one, but that's not the only one. They also come to us and say, look, before we used to get paid in cash, and the money was landing immediately into our pockets that we were then using to pay our suppliers. Now that we use your POS devices, the settlement time is 2 days, and we don't have the needed working capital to fund the solution. And our suppliers are asking to get paid immediately when your solutions are paying us after 2 days. And this is a big issue. And then, you know, these small SMEs, let's call them even unipersonal companies, are by definition a small team, and sometimes even a one-man show. And these guys don't have the human resources to do conciliation. So when they look at their bank accounts and find out after 2 days that they have received a certain amount of money that is coming from all the sales over the last 2 days, they get lost with reconciliation and finding out what the amounts are related to. They need to find the slips and make the maths and find out what is the commission, and so on and so on. And I'm just giving a few reasons, but there are others, including the commission that is taken, including the cost of the POS, and so on and so on. So to answer your question, if we want to help with financial inclusion in Morocco, we need the local government to help potentially with subsidies, maybe offering the devices to the shops, or even subsidizing the cost of the transactions. We've seen in the US, and my friend was talking about how the US is advanced, and thank you for reminding us how great you are. But in the US...
I tried to literally do the opposite, but yes.
In the US, you guys have given a lot of tax cuts for all those merchants who in the 90s, in the early 2000s, were early adopters and were selling online. And I remember how in some states, in the United States, if you were selling online, you weren't paying any VAT. And this is great. And again, and using you as a model, we should get a lot of inspiration from you guys.
Thank you, Ismail. Indeed, I think I totally agree with you regarding that governance should give incentives and motivation to startups in order to lead these innovations. And I'm glad to know that Shadi got the right people and the right investors. And talking about investment, I will turn to you, Dr. Khalid. Given your extensive investment background, what are the key indicators that will determine the success of a fintech startup in Africa precisely, and how can investors support sustainable and scalable ventures in this space?
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation from Amadeus, and obviously Morocco as a host country. Very proud to be here. Let me try first to, before I answer the question directly, summarize what the transactions are when it comes to fintech, or in general, financial transactions. If I make them very simple, you're either paying somebody, or you're being paid, or you're borrowing money, or you're saving money. Between those four, you can summarize, very simply said, what financial transactions normally are. And for those who are banked, they do all four through the bank. That's very normal that you go to the bank, you can make a payment, you can receive your money transferred to your bank account, or you can borrow or deposit and save money. Now, when we look at startups, they come to us with one or more of these functions that they promise to do now in a technology way instead of the bank. And I asked them the question, first of all, banks are banks. They are solid institutions. They are very strong. Why didn't the bank do it? And I know the answer, but I'm just trying to see whether that startup knows how to penetrate a market as big as that of fintech. And the short answer is banks are very happy and comfortable with some layer of the society that deals with bigger amounts of money, where the overhead of the bank, including the credit department, including all departments in a bank, are worth it. Now, the startup should, in a way, deal with a different segment that is typically unbanked, because the amounts of money they do, or the whole transactions, or the credit and so on, is something the bank would not do for this individual or for this very small company. And in that respect, I think what we're witnessing now is that lots of startups came at some point and they were doing me too. Me too. Okay, I'm a payment gateway. I allow X to pay Y. I allow X to pay Y. And it became like a trend. Of course, some early comers, Flutterway or Fawry in Egypt or others, were there before the rest. And for them, the system allowed them to do that. They had time and they grew very, very nicely. But nowadays, if I am to invest in a new startup, when they come to me and they say, I'm going to be another Flutterware, or I'm going to be another Fawry and so on, I say, what's new? And the answer should be, and some are doing it already, is the marriage or the combination of fintech and AI. Okay, now I summarize the transactions. If you want to make an investment, AI can tell you where, what to invest, give you guidance today that nobody can do. Okay, the bank will not sit with you and tell you how to invest, $50. That's not worth the time of the bank, but AI will. The bank will not do credit worthiness and study and send you to their credit department if you're trying to borrow $200. It's too expensive to do any credit study on somebody who wants to borrow $200. Whereas AI can do that maybe in seconds or in minutes, through your history, through everything. It can go even through your social media. It can just, do anything that you think about to tell the startup that is giving you or borrowing you the money that you are worth that investment. So the coupling of AI and fintech is something, as an investor, I would nowadays look for. Otherwise, I think straightforward payment gateways are too old-fashioned now. I wouldn't invest in them. Now, the marriage, again, of fintech and the sectoral know-how is also very important. So the agricultural sector needs certain financial services in a certain payment cycle and so on. They have a long cycle. They put all their money for 3 months and then they get the reward at the end. That's typically the problem of agriculture. It's a long cycle of investment and then money comes later. Now, that needs financing typically, and they finance it from the previous round. But because it's hand to mouth, it doesn't allow them to develop new technologies or to do anything out of the box, because it's just a recycling of the same money that they earned last cycle, they put it in the new cycle, and so on. But if there is a know-how of the technology that gets combined with a loan system for agriculture, for instance, that takes a 3-month, 4-month, that's all what you need, cycle into consideration, the whole sector can be changed upside down. And I'm just giving that as an example. There are other examples, of course. Each sector needs to have its own domain of fintech services. So we're nowadays, as investors, looking for startups that really understand a niche. A niche means, okay, if I put fintech combined with AI in agriculture, this is my product, okay? And that's something that could be sexy. And it sounds like a niche, but it's still, you know, hundreds of billions in any country in Africa, because agriculture is so important. It could be also manufacturing. And again, the cycle is different in manufacturing compared to agriculture. You have to do procurement, so you have to pay for your raw material, for things. Again, AI can help you find the best places, the best prices, the best quality, and so on. So as an investor, I always nowadays look for that combination of fintech plus AI plus sectoral knowledge. A startup that has that combination is a startup that I can talk to.
Thank you, Dr. Khalid, for this crucial piece of information, especially for startups and those trying to pursue an entrepreneurial journey. Choosing a niche or a specific, a sector-specific product in order to attract investors is a crucial information. And unfortunately, I received information from the organizers. We have to round off this round of questions in order to leave 15 minutes for the questions. So I will ask my last question to you, Mr. André. So how can African governments leverage fintech to create citizen-centric digital platforms that bridge the gap or gaps in access to healthcare, education, and other essential services, while also boosting the digital literacy?
Thank you so much. I'm going to be very quick. Just a few insights. First of all, to make sure we all agree, what Scott said, and Mustafa also, is there's been in Africa amazing leapfrogs thanks to technologies, no regards of whatever other countries could have brought to Africa. The use of cell phones, of course, and fintechs. Of course, the leapfrog already happened with fintechs, and it started here in Africa. Okay, that's the biggest leapfrog in the world. It went quicker in Africa than in Asia. Okay. To answer your question, I think that there's, first thing, a very, very important thing is that there's the UA agenda for 2063 that plans a common platform, financial platform for exchanges in all African countries. It's very important. It's a goal that must be achieved, and it means that all governments, African governments, will have to tackle this issue all together and work on this issue all together to make sure that it's an easy market for everyone. So you will be able to exchange money very easily through fintech platforms. So governments and platforms will have to work together. Now, I would like to emphasize something. To develop technical platforms regarding the aspect of sovereignty, which is essential, and data protections, Africa can rely on open sources technologies. So they exist. For instance, we developed in France the website for the French Senate using a technology called Typo3. Typo3 is a German-based technology, but it's open source for the entire world. England is going to use this technology for all the government services that are going to be developed, and it's very easy to use this technology. And even though you cannot code, it's not very complex, but remember that you've got in Morocco the best engineers in the world. If you go to the best universities in the world, in France, in America, all the top foreigner students come from Morocco. So there won't be big issues into coding or developing new services using these existing platforms, which allow the countries to be sovereign. They don't depend on Google or whatever, or Microsoft or whatever technology company to develop their solutions and to own their own solutions. So if there's something I'd like to highlight is that make sure that you use the right tools to develop the services. And of course, if you want to onboard people, make sure these services are useful for the people. And the main issue to finish is that the best benefit from the technologies is that it brings people from informal system to formal system. So I'm sorry because they will have to pay taxes, but I think that to develop the countries, taxes are useful. And to bring people into the formal economy, to the formal system, can be amazing. And in some countries where people do not even have an address, technologies can provide an address. All right, thank you.
Thank you, André. Thank you for this insightful information. I would like to turn to the organizers. Do we still have some time? I'd like to ask my dear panelists for 1 minute, one recommendation each. Can we have, we have 5 minutes for the questions? Okay, and then we proceed with taking questions. Okay, so we have 10 minutes sharp. Okay, thank you so much. So what would be your top one recommendation to, let me say, to Africa in order to thrive regarding its initiatives, regarding fintech in general? Your first, your top one recommendation. Yeah, in order to enhance. Yeah. You want to start?
It's very hard to speak your whole vision and thought in such few time. My biggest priority for me would be, I'm afraid if you just give tools, AI, to people, you make great customers, not great leadership. And we need leaders. You have an opportunity in Africa to do not in accident. You can have a new vision. So maybe consider the global vision, the cooperation to see which tools do you need.
So empowering the leaders.
Yes.
Second recommendation?
Okay. I think Ishmael made very, very good comments regarding the challenges that they face in the industry. So what I would like to say to that is I think governments should pay attention to what he said, because many fintech companies are facing the same thing. Africa actually has 90% cash transactions. That's a McKinsey report that states that we do transaction, 90% of our transactions are in cash. We need to bank these transactions. And to do so, we need to listen to what the fintech companies are saying and set policies that will encourage people to come to the banks and to use the services of the fintech companies. Thank you.
Thank you, Ifi. Do we have a third recommendation?
I'll just say real quick to aspire to do better and leave nobody behind. The couple of other panelists have brought up the security pieces, and the security pieces could be a whole other panel and can be extremely boring. But how do you teach your neighbor who barely understands, or your grandma who barely understands and is starting to use mobile to make sure that they are secure and that they don't fall for all the scams that are happening in all over the world? You can do better, and you can leave no one behind.
Thank you, Scott. Go ahead, Mustafa.
Just wanted to add a comment on my fellow colleague here. Transformative, fintech to be transformative is cross-sectorial, right? And therefore the next wave of fintech is happening now. And for that, you can use AI, and AI, all you need to do is spend time on it, because you just need to be creative. It's not about coding anymore. It's just about creativity and time, and that's why the whole dimension is changing. There's no more experts today, so it's all about you spending time on it.
And training. Okay, Dr. Khalid, go ahead.
Just because it relates to AI. Sorry. I think Africa should embrace AI on the whole society level, not for a segment like they did before in IT or in Fintech or in anything. AI is something for the entire population. What they need to learn is how to prompt. AI will be like your assistant, and we will all have it. It's going to be available. It's like Excel, but 1,000 times more powerful. Powerful, more power. And for you to use that power, there are people who use Excel to add and subtract. That's not very useful. You can use Excel for more complicated formulas. Now imagine AI being 1,000 times more powerful. What you have to do and learn, everyone, even older people, everybody has to learn how to prompt AI, how to ask AI the right questions, to receive the right answers, and from that, develop the sector or whatever the topic they want into something more efficient.
Thank you, Dr. Khalid.
If we can be bold, I would.
Briefly, please.
Yeah, I would give every kid a mobile phone with no access to a few solutions such as TikTok or Instagram or Snapchat, no social media, and with educational tools.
Thank you, André. We're done? Okay, thank you, dear panelists. I'll turn to the audience. If you have any questions, kindly share your question with us. Kindly stick to 1 minute because we're really running out of time. And you address your question to the panelists you'd like to ask. No questions?
I think the message was don't be shy.
Okay. Don't be shy. Go ahead. Not a single question?
Can we ask them a question?
Yes, let's do that.
Who's using AI here in the audience, in one way or the other?
No one is using AI? They're
One?
all using GPT.
At least GPT, no?
Go ahead. Okay, let me ask you a question. Who here, one of you, who trusts the traditional banking system? 100%. No one trusts the traditional banking system? So why you don't have questions for fintech? Okay.
So can I just add something?
Go ahead,
I think he mentioned that AI should be used across all sectors, and I believe that regulators should also incorporate AI in their regulatory activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ify. So I think if we don't have any questions, we shall conclude the session. And thank you so much to my panelists for joining us today and sharing all these insightful information and taking the time to teach us new concepts and new ideas about fintech. I was honored to be joined by you today, and see you next year.